Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ.
And it is Wednesday in the Riv, and I'm back in my normal spot. We don't have that catastrophe we had on Monday with all kinds of problems. And so it looks like we're off. We got a whole bunch of stuff to talk about today, CJ.
Yeah, hey, home invasions, stabbings. I mean, we're a safe city. We don't have any crime.
Wait a minute. Where is that? That's right. Wait a minute. There's no crime. Crime's down 28,000%. I
Yeah,
mean, but figures don't lie, but liars can figure. Right. So,
exactly.
yeah, I guess the perception that the crime's down is only when if they live up in the north end. So,
I guess
but
so. We got a couple of things we got to bring up from from Monday's show, and we received a few phone calls and a few email messages from people wanting to see that picture that we had on our cell phones. So here it is. Funds aimed at storefront facelifts. And there's Ed Lambert. And right behind Ed Lambert is Ken Fiola with more hair. I don't know who that is on to the side of Ed Lambert, but if you look up in the upper corner, it says the date of the
yeah,
article, which was, it looks like December 6th, 1987.
yeah,
So,
I know that individual to the right. I can't think of his name. I'm really bad with names. I'm faces with me are like numbers. I remember them very very well. But unless I know somebody and I talk to him on a regular basis, I see faces and I go, I know that guy, but
yeah.
I don't. I can't remember his name, and he had something to do with the Flint Association, I think, at that time. But I know the face. But again, people go, oh yeah, yeah. But like I said, I think the really highlight of that picture was Kenny Fiola's head right there. There
Yeah.
you go. There you go. The man who does nothing, and
Almost
when he
40
wasn't,
years ago, he was talking about doing Pleasant Street.
yeah, and that's what they do best. Politicians love to do studies, and now the Flint. I guess the question is how much of that money they earmarked is for another study. How many
Right.
times do we have to study the Flint? We've been studying the Flint since 1987.
If not
So
before then.
I mean, all you got to do is walk up Pleasant Street and look around. You don't need a study. I mean, listen, I grew up in that neighborhood. Yeah, I lived basically a block away from Pleasant Street. I lived on the corner of Alden and Harrison, and you walk one block up, the end of the block, there was Pleasant Street. Or I could go to the next block down, Flint Street, and walk up there. I spent a lot of time on Pleasant Street when I was growing up. And listen, at that time, every store was occupied. It was a bustling place. But then again, I guess it's going to take, I don't know, 40 years. I don't know. It's like we're nearly 40 years away from that picture. I mean, only 3 more years, it'll be like 40 years. And look at the Flint. All it's done is deteriorate. And you know why? Because of politicians who lie and promise and lie and promise and repeat. That's what they do. And the people do not hold them accountable. They make excuses. Everything's an excuse. And we see it all the time. Now the city is on the verge of bankruptcy. Oh, wait a minute. On Maplewood meeting.
That was last night.
Yeah, everything is positive. That's why we have shootings and home invasions and they have to rob. I'm glad you posted that. All things are great. The mayor who said crime is down, that's another pile. The city's safe, that's a pile. And he said we got 26 million. I put $15 million in there. Well, if we're not broke, Why are you trying to raid the pension system? Because make no mistake, this is not about anything else except the city already put in that money into the budget with the lowest funding schedule. That's why they would not take no for an answer. Paul has to get this. He had to hijack the retirement system, ignore all the laws, and put in a friendly third vote. Because they're broke. I don't care what he says. These actions do not indicate a city that's strong. And we have the video, and maybe on the next show we'll bring that one back. We'll resurrect it like we resurrected this picture. And we'll go to this part where the other elected member of the board, Jim Machado, said exactly that. We're talking about $500,000 here. That's the difference in the funding schedules. You're telling me that $500,000, you're so broke you need that? If that's the case, we'll consider it. He said, but have the mayor go in front of it, call a press conference and say, we're broke. We've got to we need this money. But he won't say that because he is a lying sack of shit. That's why they need that money. I can guarantee you they've already factored this into the budget. I can guarantee it. That's why he's got to do this reprehensible, blatantly political takeover. Fire a fifth member who had been on that board for nearly, 15 years, well over a decade before I got there. And I've been on, starting my 7th year. And you know the irony is, the city voted for this guy every single time until he wouldn't give them the money. Because he knew that it was fiduciarily irresponsible for our board not to try to keep as much money as we can in the fund. And we'll explain that in depth at that council meeting. I encourage you all to go. But they're going to ignore it. I can tell you right now, they're just going to, like they did, because I'm going to tell you something. This has been a hot topic now for a while. And I've only had an in-depth conversation with one city councilor about this issue. I had a text message with one, and I telephoned another one and said, if you want any more information, give me a call. But just like all the letters you send in, CJ, all the letters I send in with all the numbers, all the facts, all the figures, here we go. See? All these laws, the Perac memo, the Dalla decision, all of these things you send to the council, they use them for toilet paper. They don't pay attention. And then when we go down there next Tuesday, they're going to act like this is like an epiphany. Oh, really? I didn't know that. Oh, I never heard about that. Oh, we just got to get that fifth member on there. No, you don't. We run meetings all the time with 4 people. There's no reason to put that fifth member on immediately until we adjudicate this. There's absolutely no reason to do it. I've chaired numerous meetings when Arthur Viana was out. We've had people not show up at the meetings. We had Bridget, the city, miss a few meetings. We still had a meeting. We've had Mark Nassif miss a meeting. I don't believe that the elected members have ever missed a meeting. I don't remember Dave ever missing a meeting. He may have missed one, I guess. I don't know. but he was on the board for like 40 years, I'm sure, before I got down there. But, you know, I've never missed a meeting. And all of a sudden, they need to put this fifth guy on. They only need this fifth guy on so they can get the third vote and try to reconsider it and get even more money out of the retirement system. So listen, everything that comes out of this guy's mouth is a lie. And if they didn't need the money, why are they rushing it? Why are they going to try to ramrod this, ignore the law? And those counselors are despicable. They don't care. And I will remind one of those counselors who was sitting there, the last time a council behaved like this was 1995. And Linda, you remember what happened. You and 4 other people got bounced off the council. And we will do everything in our power to remove every single person who doesn't allow us the ability to adjudicate this and get a member on that board that the law says is fundamentally neutral, and not allow a politician to pick it. And with that, CJ, back to you.
This retirement board issue is going to be a big thing until next Tuesday, and then I think even beyond that. I've gotten in touch with various news outlets. I've been in communication with Jess Machado over at Fall River Reporter. I've been in communications with Channel 10. I've been in communications with Channel 12. I'm getting the information out there as fast as I can. Hopefully, they'll show up at the city council meeting, and hopefully, citizens, and more particularly the retirees. Yes, you, the retirees. You need to make your voice heard to be sure, to be absolutely sure that your pension is protected. Because if you're not there, your pension's not going to be protected. If the parents of the Tansy school can get them to reconsider or at least table the closing of that school with 200 people present, what do you think 200 retirees are going to do? Because remember, retirees are the people that vote. Retirees are the people who vote. And the sad part about it is most of the retirees in the city of Fall River are earning $17,000 or less. We have retirees that are earning $17,000 or less. Can you live on $17,000? I know I can't. And I'm making ends meet somehow right now. This is what happens. The mayor is broke. He doesn't want to let you know he's broke because it would look bad for him. It would look very bad for him because he turned around and said that we had $26 million in the stabilization account. Well, if we got $26 million in the stabilization account, why can't you use some of that money to fill the holes in your budget? You use the ARPA money to fill the holes in your budget. Why not the stabilization money? Isn't it that's what it's there for? Oh, wait a minute. All that stabilization money improves your credit rating for bonding. I know how the system works. And I remember when Fall River had one of the crappiest credit ratings going. But always remember something, people. Fall River doesn't borrow money on its own. It borrows money with guarantees from the state. Without those guarantees from the state, I don't think Fall River would qualify for a loan. I don't think they'd qualify for a bond. I really don't. And that's
you're right.
about it.
Oh, you're right, Chief. But I've got to kind of get into this. It's not only the retirees. The active employees are actually in more jeopardy. Because right now, the retirees, most of whom, we have 50% of the current retirees living on less than $25,000 a year. That's gross. Most of them are below 25,000. A lot of them are below 20,000. Some of them, barely above 15,000. And they will be probably denied COLAs or have COLAs cut, which is $360 a year, a measly less than $1 a day. And they will say, oh, we can't afford that, but we can give the city, let the city skim our money. But it's the actives, because when this, at the end, finally collapses, they will have their benefits drastically reduced. And it also affects the taxpayer. Because right now, at the end of this funding schedule, we will go over the numbers in detail. But we're looking at an astronomical amount the city will be responsible for, from like 30 to 35. They can't afford it. We know they can't afford it. They can't afford it. They're going to be crying to kick it down the road. They're going to be crying for everything. And now if they do this and begin to put less money than they should to try to at least keep those figures on the end where they are, which are bad enough now, they will increase those numbers. As a matter of fact, it won't be a couple of years and you're going to see a drastic difference in what the city. So this is the folly of this, and I believe Jim Machado has all the numbers, and we will be talking about those on Tuesday. How much it will increase the city's retirement payment under the funding schedule by adopting this lower funding schedule just in 2 years. We're entering fiscal year 2025. By 2027, there will be a dramatic increase in how much the city has to pay into their retirement fund, for this retirement fund. And then these same city councils will be saying, oh my God, how did we get here? Because of you. That's how we got here, because of you. And on Tuesday night, we're going to say this in front of a camera and to your faces. We're here because of councilors. We're here from 02 to 12. They drastically underfunded our system, and it brought us down to the bottom of the barrel. And now Paul Coogan, with this illegal, unethical, and immoral attack on the pension system, will finish it off. It will drive a stake through this system and the city. And it won't only be the retirees and the active city employees who lose. It will be the taxpayers, because we will have another giant bill to add to the Durfee debt and to the Diamond debt. They're already worried about Diamond coming. Wait till you see the increase in your retirement. And I will go back, because I have a very good memory and we can pull it. I remember a few years ago, because they love to dip into the retirement funds, because nobody else knows they're doing it except we do. And they tried to talk about that a few years ago when Mary Sahadi was here, and I still remember her response. Oh, we can't do that. We won't be able to do that with the makeup of the board. You know why? What she meant? Easily. She knew the 2 elected members of the board would not stand for it, because it's not the fiduciarily responsible thing to do. And the 3rd member, who was neutral, would probably go along with us, which is exactly what he did this year and got fired for. That's why they want a political appointee on the board. But that will end up in crashing the system for the taxpayers too. On the end of this funding schedule right now, the city's looking at $70 million. They do this, it will be more. It's not going to happen. The city is going to be in such, and you're going to hear all the bullshit, pension obligation bonds. They don't work. Worcester tried it. They took obligation bond, they had a pension bond, and then they still tank their system and they're still in trouble. The only thing that works with the pension system is funding it. And the employees always funded it because they paid on time out of every paycheck. Never missed a payment. The city pays late, doesn't pay interest, and violates the statute about how they're supposed to pay all the time. So besides all the money it's cost us in lost revenue in our investment portfolio, now they want to even underfund that investment portfolio. So listen, I know this is a little complicated, but it's real simple. If you pay late, and I said this at a meeting to the fifth member when he voted for the rights schedule, I said, you're a banker. Do you normally give better interest rates and better terms to people who are always late paying and don't pay their interest? And his answer was no. Well, if you just keep running up your credit card debt and never pay anything on it, they're going to cancel all your cards and you're going to go bankrupt. But the problem is, these politicians say, oh, well, we don't care if this city goes into receivership. I won't be in office. And that's exactly what this council is going to be faced with now. You had Brad Kilby saying, well, we got a lot of hard decisions because of the position we're in. Well, number one, Brad, you got yourself into that position with your uncontrolled spending. But this isn't a hard decision. You got a really easy decision. Do the right thing. Try to get this pension system stay on track, or bankrupt the pension system and the city down the road. But then again, who cares? You probably won't be in that council seat at that time. And I can tell you what, if you don't do it at this meeting, we're going to do everything we can to make sure everybody that doesn't do the right thing is not in office in the next election. And with that, CJ, I'll turn it back.
We know Linda is already receiving a pension. So for her, she's just taking a step back. She's recusing herself because she's receiving a pension. But Brad Kilby, Sean Kadim, they're all vested in the pension system. Now, Sean Kadim has Seekonks if he wants to. So if something happens to the Fall River pension system, he can say, oh, the hell with you, I'm going to Seekonk. I'll get my pension from there. But Brad Kilby can only get it from Fall River. So think about that for a second, Brad. I'm sure when you're ready to apply for that pension, if the Fall River pension system is financially strapped, or worse, in receivership or bankruptcy, I'm sure you can say, well, I don't know how we got there. And people like me and other retirees and other city workers are going to turn around and say, we got here because of you, Brad. We got here because of what you did, Brad. We got here because of how you voted, Brad. We got here because you walked out, Brad. That's what they're going to say. That's what they're going to say. And if Paul attacks the retirement system, people are going to remind him for the rest of his life, you screwed the people of Fall River. You screwed the city workers. You screwed the retirees. That's what's going to be said. And that's not an easy thing to deal with for a lot of people.
It's easy for him to deal. He doesn't care. Listen, the reality is, he never had a job that he had to take a test for. He got a job because he knew somebody, and then he got Then he got another job that he knew somebody, and now he's the mayor. He's in the teachers' retirement system. It's not gonna affect it. He moved out of Fall River the minute, right after he retired, he got out of town. He only came back to run for political office, and as soon as he's not in political office, he will leave Fall River. There's no doubt about it. So he will not have to deal with the taxes, with the fees that he implements, ultimately. And this is the problem. They don't care. Like the elitists in Washington don't care about the poor people. Joe Biden can say, oh, everything's great. But we have 2/3 of the United States living paycheck to paycheck. Everything's wonderful. The stock market's great. Yeah, well, the people that can't afford their rent aren't playing a stock market. The rich people are getting richer, and the poor people are getting poorer. And the ones in the middle, they're eliminating the middle class. And in the city of Fall River, Brad may not, Brad will suffer a little bit. But this isn't going to really bite him, because what they're going to do is, and listen, I talked to a couple of state officials. They know what we're doing is wrong, and they're not happy about it, because they know we're going to go again crying to the state, and then the state has to deal with the overall pension system in the entire state. They're not happy when cities like Fall River do this, because it puts a burden on the state too. But they're not going to get involved because they're politicians. They're going to go, well, we'll make a phone call and we'll tell him, you really shouldn't be doing this. And he says, tough shit, I need the money. I got to do this because I already put it in the budget. I already put it in a budget. We need that money. I don't care what I said in my State of the City address. We're broke. Everybody in that building knows they're broke. And this is the problem. And then in fiscal 27, when they go back in front of this council, and whoever's in charge of the financial team says, we got Durfee, we got Diamond, and we got the retirement system. Look at what we got to pay into this retirement system. And hopefully, we will still be there to remind them that you're right. You have that problem, and you caused it. But hopefully, if they don't do the right thing next Tuesday, that none of them will be in a seat in fiscal year 27. So, with that, CJ, back to you.
And yes, Jeff, in response to your question, and Chip could probably answer it too, I'm going to put it back up. Yeah, are you saying they're not happy with you, or they're not happy with what the city is doing? I believe the state is not happy with the city is doing. And that's the truth, because what Chip is doing is what's supposed to be done. And that's why he's making such a big thing out of this. So we beat a dead horse here.
Yeah, I was talking about I had conversations, and they were not happy with cities like Fall River, cities like Springfield. They're a burden not only to their own city because of their mishandling of this, they're a burden to the state, because the state ultimately has to oversee the entire Commonwealth system. Because PERAC runs everything, and it's a state agency. So the reality is, listen, I am doing what the law says, what I read, what's in that PERAC memo. It says that our fiduciary responsibility is solely to the members and of the retirement system and their beneficiaries. It's our job to do the right thing to try to keep that pension system solvent, to make sure that people who work their whole lives can get a decent pension. But these politicians don't care. They're going to make enough side money and enough money that this thing doesn't bother them. And the state people are not happy, but they're not going to do it because, the politician's code. Well, I may not like it. I may try to convince him, but if he tells me, there's no way I got to do this, I'm just going to say, well, I'm not going to be real happy, because it's going to end up affecting the state and the city and everybody else. And this is what makes this so immoral. That these people they just don't care. And if you remember that, if you remember that video, I said that to NASA. You don't care about the retirees, and he went, what do you have? Yeah. And I said, no. He said, all right, that's right. I don't care. And he turned around, shrugged his shoulders, and turned his head. That's right. I don't care. Well, he was attempting to be facetious, but he was actually telling the truth. If you actually force these people to tell the truth, strap them in a chair and shot them with sodium pentothal or whatever, I think I get it close, whatever that truth serum is, what would happen is, if you didn't see The Exorcist, you should watch it. It would be like The Exorcist. Their head would be spinning around 360 degrees, and vomit would be coming out of their mouth because they were forced to tell the truth. And I would love to get a meme that actually did that. So.
Oh God, we beat this up like there's no tomorrow, and I can't wait till next Tuesday because it's really gonna be beat up then. So we got to look forward to that. Hey, I just got some news. The Night Owl Diner, an icon up the Flint, is going to be rehabbed and sold for another restaurant. They're going to try to do that, and they're making it a part of Fall River's historic buildings, so they won't be able to knock it down. They're going to try to save the building and remodel it. So there's a perk for Carlos Caesar. Go work on that, Carlos. You need to work on that.
Go, Carlos. Go. Yeah, you're right. And that was the first place who originated the hot cheese. The Night Owl Diner. The Night Owl Diner used to have a hot cheeseburger. They'd have the hot cheese on it. Of course, Graham's Hot Dogs had hot cheese too. But the Night Owl Diner was the first one. And yeah, hopefully it will fly. And speaking of that, I drive by to take the dog for a walk at BCC every day. But I see that New York Bagel is renovating the interior of that. They haven't opened the inside of that building since prior to COVID, and it'll be nice because that was a nice place to meet somebody for a coffee and a light lunch and have a meeting, because I used to stop in there all the time and get, it's good. It's nice to see that. But the problem is that these people have no money. They can't go and get a hot cheese. They can't get anything. You know what they get? They get the barota. That's what they get. So, but it's nice to see a little bit of that. And Carlos, your work on the Flint is not forgotten. Paul can try to steal the thunder and say, I'm doing something that started in 1987, but it'll be 2047 if he stays in before anything's done.
True. Hey, before we close, we've got a couple of reports of crime. Oh my God, crime. According to Sergeant Moses Burr at the Fall Police Department at 11:45 on Monday, the police department responded to a residence on Foster Street, Foster, Foster, in response to a report that an individual had sustained a stab wound during an argument. Upon arrival, investigating officers were able to determine that a 49-year-old man had sustained a stab wound to his arm as a result of an argument with a roommate. So this is a directed case. The victim was transported to a local hospital. His injuries did not appear to be life-threatening. The roommate, 40-year-old William Vincino Aguirre Soensa, was arrested and charged with assault and battery with a dangerous weapon and vandalism. Hey, but we don't have crime. I don't understand this. What's going on? We don't have crime. We have Trip Street. And they arrested a third person in the shooting on Rock Street. A third person who's being charged with accessory after the fact. Accessory to murder after the fact. I don't understand that one, but okay. So now there's 4 people. They're still looking for the shooter. But according to the reports, one of the guys got out of the car with a uh, 45, and another one was shooting with a 40. And that's two people, and you've already got 3 out of 4 in the car. So why isn't somebody being charged with murder? Why hasn't somebody been charged with murder yet? This is getting to be a little questionable. Something's not growing right here. You know, put them all together in a room and see who's going to turn around and turn up the heat on each other. Because that's what needs to happen.
Well, a 45 and a 40 caliber, those are from pretty heavy duty guns.
Exactly.
And as Paul, the master of the understatement, said, oh, we got people with guns that shouldn't have guns. You're right. But, that's the problem. And I hate to tell you this, Paul, but most of the people who have guns that shouldn't have them don't get them legally. And so they're in, because everybody's going to say, oh, take everybody's guns away. No, you need, law-abiding people have a right to bear arms. And the reality is that these people, you're not going to tell me some gangbanger is walking around with a 45 that he got legally, or a 40, or even a 9. I mean, these people are criminals, and you've, like you said, you got 3 accessories but no perpetrator. So far, all we're doing is arresting the perpetrators. Well, I don't know. I guess these guys may be hardcore. They're not gonna roll over on a perpetrator to make a deal. I don't know what's going on, but look, we've got home invasions.
That was last night. That home invasion was on Lawton Street.
Yeah.
And a person of the home that was invaded was stabbed. So again, another stabbing. Oh, imagine that. We're up to what? 4 stabbings? Can't go wrong. You can't go wrong. Yeah, there's no crime in Fall River. Remember that, people. They're all targeted. So unless you're in the target zone, you don't have to worry.
And that home invasion was down in the neighborhood of the Maplewood area.
Yes. Where the mayor was last night.
Well, yeah, trying to lobby himself into controlling that neighborhood association. So, again, he goes down there and they lie again. Oh, there's no crime. Hey, wait a minute, there was just a home invasion down the street. Oh well, forget about it. Let's not talk about that. That was probably a targeted home invasion, so that means it doesn't count.
Right.
The only time a home invasion counts in Paulie's world is if it's in his home.
That's right.
If his house doesn't have bullet holes, and nobody invades his house, but they'd never find him in there anyway because he's never there, because I know he lives in Somerset. But the reality is that all this stuff is just meaningless. Don't worry about it. It didn't happen to you. Don't worry about it. So, hey, with that, it's going to be an interesting meeting next week, and I'm looking forward to Friday to see what else happens in this safe city.
A safe city, that's right. The cesspool of a safe city. I want to thank you all for watching, and remember, stay safe, stay angry, and damn it, hold your politicians accountable. You have a great day today, and we'll see you on Friday.